Okay, welcome back to Grow New Plants. Today I have another nerve plant, or Fittonia, and this one is a ruby red. And it's a really nice full plant. I've had it for, I guess, about a month. I bought it about a month ago. I've been looking for another one, and kind of hard to find. So I found this one. It was really nice. I've just kept it watered, kept it under my grow lights, and it still looks about the same as when I bought it. But I'm going to propagate this, but I'm going to try a couple different things with it. When I sit there and look at this, I don't know how well you can see it. There's what looks like four pretty much individual plants inside of here. So I'm going to try and do division on two of these. I'm just going to pull two of these apart. If I can separate the roots. If I can't separate them, I'll put them back in. But if I can separate them, I'm going to take two of them and just repot them directly in their own pots, let them be their own plants. Then I'll put one back in here, and then I'll take the other one, and then I'm going to do stem cuttings, and I'm going to put those straight into soil. Instead of the last time I did this, I did it with water, but this time I'm going to go straight into the soil. And then I have my little trays that I keep under my grow shelves with dome covers that'll help keep them moist until they get new roots established. So let's see how that goes. So first thing I'm going to do is pull this thing out of here very gently. And I'm just going to very gently start breaking the soil apart and see if these things will divide up into separate plants. From the way they look, you can see it a little bit better now. There's a plant, there's a plant, there's a plant, and there's one more around here. And I really do think that they will. And they may have originally, I don't know if it's really truly division or not, because I don't know if these are plants that came up from an original plant, or if they just put four individual plants in here. I'm just very gently rotating this and knocking the soil off till I can get the individual plants. There's one right there coming out. Okay, there's one right there. Very gently pulling that out. Try not to break any more roots off. So that's got a nice set of roots. Let's just sit that right here for now. We'll get them all separated. So I'm going to put two of these back in their own individual pots. One of them I'm going to put back in the original pot that it came in. And then one of them I'm going to cut to pieces and see if I can start doing individual plants from it. So this is a pretty nice one here. So we'll put that one back into the original pot. And I'll tell you what, I like my soil better than what their soil was. So I'm going to use my soil. I'm not going to reuse that soil. So I'm going to put this one back into the original pot. I'm just going to kind of hold it in place here. And my soil mix, it's basically this Miracle-Gro indoor, any kind of good indoor potting mix. And I mix it 50% with that potting mix and 50% with the coarse perlite. And that's the same mix I've been using with my African violets for starting cuttings and for leaf cuttings and just for growing them. I've transplanted some of them into this mix, and I really like this mix. I've been very successful with it, so I'm sticking with it. So I got this one. Basically just transplanted it back into the original pot. So let's set this one off to the side, and we'll go ahead. I'm going to pick which one of these I'm going to take for cuttings. That one's got 3 branches coming off of it. That one's got 3. That one's got probably 4. I'll probably get more cuttings off that one. So let's go ahead and just transplant this one back. And these are just some little pots I got off of, I think I got them off Amazon. If I can find links to them, I'll put them in there. These are really nice little pots. And a lot of these things came with wicking in them. And I don't use the wicking because I water. I'll show you my setup at the end of this, but I water in trays 10 by 20 trays that are solid bottoms, and I water from underneath. I just pour water into my tray and it soaks them up. It soaks them up just fine without the wicking string stuck in there. So, okay, so there's 2 of them. And this is the other one I was going to transplant. So I feel relatively confident that these 3 here will do just fine. They've got good healthy roots. Just water them in good, give them some good light, a little bit of fertilizer. I fertilize with a liquid fertilizer too. It's the same fertilizer that I use for my African violets too. And it sounds kind of weird. Also water all my indoor plants with fish water. I've got a 135 gallon fish aquarium. And that's what I do all my watering with. Works out great. So this is still some of my soil here. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill up. I'll go ahead and fill up 5 or 6 of them. I don't know how many different cuttings I'm gonna get. Any of these big pieces of bark, sometimes you'll find some pretty good sized pieces of bark in these things, and I'll throw them out. I don't like those in there. Okay, there's one there. Okay, so I'm gonna fill these up to the top, and I'm packing them in a reasonable amount, but not just really cramming it in there, because you want it to make good soil contact. You don't want it, when you water it, you don't want it settling too much. Okay, let's go ahead and do 2 more just in case. I'm not sure. That way I've got them ready. Not exactly sure how many cuttings I'll get off of this, but okay. So now I've got, okay, I can take 1, 2, 3. Yes, I can get 4 good solid cuttings off of this. And the thing I'm not sure about, you don't really have to go below a node on these. I just got a little pair of surgical scissors that I cut that off with. So there's one cutting. And I'm going to go ahead and remove this leaf and this leaf, and then that's going to be my stick. I'm going to go ahead and make a fresh cut. I just used a razor blade. I figured out too, it's easier if you do it on the table. Okay, so I've just taken a 45-degree cut. So then I'll come in here and I'll just make a little hole. I'm sticking that down, probably maybe halfway down into that pot, and just kind of pack it in a little bit. So there's one of them. So I'm going to come back, and here's another one right here. And I'll take these, cut those leaves off, make a nice clean 45-degree cut, and do the same thing. You don't need any rooting hormone or anything like that, not with these soft tissue cuttings. They will do just fine without that. So we go in here, got 1 more, 2 more. Cut that one off. I'll go ahead and cut both of these while I'm here. Okay, that one. I'll tell you what, just for experiment's sake, I'm going to leave that set of leaves on there, and we'll just see how this one does. Nice clean 45-degree cut. it in there. Okay, I've got one more to do that way. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this set of leaves off on this one. Make a good clean cut across the bottom. 45-degree cut. Make a little hole. And the reason you make a hole first is you don't want to take a chance of bending and breaking the stem when you're pushing it in there. Okay, so I got those packed in there. Now I'm looking at this, and I'm guessing this thing will take off and make another plant even after I've cut all those tops off. And if that's the case, I could have taken all of these bigger ones and taken cuttings off all those, but I'm kind of doing this as an experiment just to see what works and doesn't work. So I'm going to go ahead and put this one back in a pot, and we'll see if it takes off and puts out new growth. This is my good soil here. It's just kind of messy when I do this, obviously. So this is the one that we get all the cuttings off of, and we'll see how it does, see if it turns into a nice plant again or not. May or may not, but it's worth a try. May end up making a better plant. You know, it may bush out so much and end up looking better than what the other ones do. So now we got this one, which is the one we took our cuttings off of with a root system on it. We've got this one, which is one we divided out, put in a new pot. Another one that we divided out, put in a new pot. This is the one we just put back, the biggest of all of them, we put back into our original pot. And then we have 4 stem cuttings. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and put them on one of my trays, and then I'll move it in there under the grow light, and then we'll show you what they look like in there, and I'll kind of show you my method for watering them. I do water them from the top the very first time, just because it takes so much to soak this soil is a little bit dry, so it takes a little bit of time for it to soak up some moisture. After that, I'll do nothing but bottom watering. So we'll move in there and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, I got these things moved in here. This is just a 10 by 20 tray. This is a good heavy duty tray. I'll put links to these. Trays are awesome. So I've got my water, and this is my aquarium water that I've got a fertilizer mixed in with it. And I'll just come in here and soak these things pretty well from the top for the first time. And I may, just depending on how they look after the first day, I may add just a little bit more water. I use these little squirt bottles. These are like from what you get from like a restaurant supply. They're great for getting in here, you know, especially because it's hard to pour water in from tops of these trays because the shells get in your way. These work great for that. So once I get all these watered in from the top, I will go ahead and pour water into the bottom of my tray. And what I'll do a lot of times for the first time I do it, I'll put more water than I normally would, and I'll let it sit for a day. And then any excess water that's still sitting in there, like by tomorrow morning, any water that's still sitting in the bottom of the tray, I basically take a turkey baster and I suck that water back out of there. And I can add it to another plant. It's not going to hurt anything. I'll just take that water out and add it somewhere else. That one didn't feel like it had good. That's why I get them soaked good, because you want to make sure they make good contact with the stems. That way when the roots start coming out, they won't. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit more, and then we'll add some water to her bottom. And then we'll come in and put her dome on. I'm gonna have to do the dome off camera because I can't get the dome on this because these plants are pretty tall. But I do want to keep them domed at least for probably, I'm guessing 2 to 3 weeks, and these should start growing roots. They root pretty easily. I've done them in water. It's the first time I've ever done them in soil, but I've really become more of a fan of rooting in soil. Okay, so I don't know how well you can see how much water I got in here. I'm gonna go ahead and just pour water out of my jug till I've got water standing above the ridges. And you say, that's a lot of water. It is, and they'll soak some of this up, and whatever they don't soak up in the morning, I'll come in, and here's my little turkey baster right here. I'll just come in here with this turkey baster and suck that excess water out and put it into another tray of plants that I need it on. So that's pretty much it. So I'm going to slide this thing out real quick and put my dome on. So now I got the dome on it, and the main reason for the dome is just to help these over here. It's to help these that don't have roots yet. These other ones will probably be fine without a dome. If these things look perky and look good after, you know, probably 3-4 days, or start showing signs of putting out new growth, then I'll probably go ahead and remove those from the dome. But I'll leave these in the dome. I may just move them in with some of my African violets until they grow roots. So anyway, I appreciate you watching. I will definitely do a follow-up on these. We'll come back and look at them in, I guess, 3 or 4 weeks. See if we've got roots, new growth, or anything coming up out of these right here. And to see how all these did. See if this one that we took the cuttings off of, if it starts putting out new growth. Anyway, I appreciate you watching. Please like, subscribe, and share my videos. Thank you.